according to our notes, when we go to solve equations with square roots, Jaden, what's the first step that I do? Okay, so Jaden quietly said, we're going to box the square root in order to get the square root by itself. We're still going to circle our variable. We're still going to draw our line of equality. But then we're going to box the square root. So when I go to box the square root, I only box what's in that square root sign. So what am I boxing here? Anybody? Yeah, the 7t minus 3. So my goal is to get that square root by itself, meaning I have to get rid of the 4 and the 3. Now, I can't just pick any number to start to get rid of. I'm going to have to use order of operations, my PEMDAS backwards from solving two-step equations. We're still going to use that. So I'm going to look. Do I have any subtraction? Do I see any subtraction here? Huh? Yeah, but the problem with that, it's in the square root. So can I touch that yet? No. So do I see any addition? Yes, where? The 4. Now, it's not going to be the 3 because the 3 is touching the square root. When the 3 is touching a square root sign, it's just like a 3 touching a parenthesis. So we're going to get rid of that plus 4. What's the inverse operation for plus? Subtract. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Excuse me. So cancel. So then on my left side, we're going to bring down the 3 square root 7t minus 3. And then on my right side, we're going to take 19 minus 4. 15. Good. All right, now we're going to have to look again. Is my square root by itself? Do I have my square root by itself yet? No. What do I have to get rid of now? That 3. Say it again, Jalen. Yeah, we're going to divide by 3 because anytime the number touches the square root sign like that, or parentheses, or variable, it means to multiply. Inverse operation for multiply is divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 3. On my left side, I now am able to bring down the square root of 7t minus 3. Now I have to bring that square root sign down because I haven't gotten rid of it yet. And then I'm going to take 15 divided by 3 and get 5. Now, have I gotten the square root by itself? Is that square root by itself? Is there anything over on the same side of the line of equality with that square root? Nah, that square root's by itself. There's no other number on the outside. So once you get the square root by itself, you're ready to move to step 2. What's step 2 in our notes say to do? That was all step 1. Yeah. Come on. So we're going to square both sides of our line of equality. Because square and square root are inverse operations, meaning that square is going to cancel my square root sign out. Which then means I can drop down my 7t minus 3 without the square root sign. But then on my right side, I'm going to have to take 5 squared. 25. 5 times 5 is 25. Good. And here is a two-step equation, what we learned last week. So if I have a two-step equation, I now need to solve for the t. So how do I get the t by itself? What do I get rid of first? SADMAP. Look at your SADMAP. Do you see any subtraction? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The minus.
I do plus 3. You right. Thank you, bro.
Whatever you do on one side.
You gotta do to the other.
Okay, so we bring down our 7t equals. And what's 25 plus 3? 28. And finally, our last step.
Now you gotta do
divide by 7. So then t is going to equal 4. Nice. Okay, so if you guys take a look here, we've done two-step equations, and if you remember all the way back to Wednesday now, we did a 3-step equation on Wednesday. Now, we did solving square roots, and how many steps did it take us to get the square root or to solve for the variable? So let's count. It took us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so you guys just did a 5-step equation.
Yes, go ahead and take that as a grade.
Nice.
I got it.
But we're going to top that with this next problem here. Flip it over.
If the teacher got that like that lunch thing, like when you cook for other people, do they have it today too?
Oh, I don't know. That's a really good
They
question.
can do it Thursday.
I don't know. That's a good question. All right, so we're going to draw our line of equality. We're going to circle our variable. Now, step 1, box our square root. What's all going to be boxed in this particular equation? And the 2. Good. The reason why we're going to include that 2 is because this square root sign dips down to cover the bottom and the top here. So that entire thing, that entire square root is going to be boxed. Now, just looking at this equation, how many steps are you going to have? Don't say it out loud. Take a second and look at it. Okay, I think I have it. How many do you think?
4.
3.
Okay, so we have 4. What else we have? 6.
I say 6.
6.
3.
3. All right, let's figure it out.
It's not no 3.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is get the square root by itself. So again, we use PEMDAS backwards. So we're going to use this acronym, SADMAP, for the rest of this triad. Anytime you do a multi-step equation, we're going to use PEMDAS, SADMAP backwards, okay? Now, according to SADMAP, what do I get rid of first? Nice. So we're going to subtract 3.
Negative.
Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. And this is where kiddos get the most confused. Is because we have so much stuff going on that they'll subtract the 3 on one side, but then they forget to do it. And so then they lose track. So make sure you still follow the same steps that we've done all along. So what's 13 minus 3? 10. And then on my right side, I write everything else back down. So I'm going to put 2, the big square root sign that covers the 5x plus 5, over 2. Now it's going to be important that you make sure that you show that square root covers, ooh, guys, what was that? You're going to have to make sure that that square root covers your top and your bottom. So then from here, we have to get rid of what to get the square root by itself, Kira? If I want to get this square root by itself, what's the next number I have to get rid of? The 2. How do I do that? Yeah, because the 2's touching that. We're going to divide.
So that's
Whatever I do to one side,
2 stuff right there.
that's the second step. That's right, Damon. Okay. Now, Michael, do you need to move up so you can see? Is that the problem?
You can say right. Nope, cause
Jaden, can you do me a favor? You're going to switch back to where Michael is. Kelly can switch back to where you are. Mike can sit here and you can sit there. And then I'll scramble you guys all around better next week. Okay, so if you guys want to do that real fast for me, go ahead and move real fast for me. Okay, so 10 divided by 2 is, Kira? 5.
Let me go into that.
So then on my right side, I bring in my square root. Right here, right where Jaden is. Oh. Okay, is my square root by itself now?
Yeah.
Finally, yes. If my square root is by itself, I'm ready to go where? To do what? Jalen?
Square. So
Yeah.
what you're going to do is square 2. And then on 5, square 2.
Now, what I see, common mistake. A common mistake that I see, that when people go to write their square, they put it in front of the 5. That's not the same thing. Don't do that. Make sure you're still putting that square behind your number. Okay? So we're going to show that square and square root cancel. On my left side, what's 5 squared?
Oh, 25.
25.
Of course.
And then on my right side, I got rid of the square root sign, so I'm going to have 5x plus 5
Third stuff, right?
divided by 2.
So what has third stuff is wrong.
Okay, now the square root's gone, but I still need to get the variable by itself.
You gotta do.
So what do I get? Raise your hand for me. So what do I get rid of next? What's the next number I have to get rid of? Jalen?
2.
The 2. How do I do that?
You gotta do times 2.
Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. It doesn't really matter where you write that times 2 out on the other side. Just make sure that you show it. Okay?
And then your answer,
Go ahead.
your answer be 50.
Equals.
5x plus 5.
Okay. David.
That's 4 right there. That's the 4 steps.
That's 4. What do I get rid of next?
When you get rid of the plus 5,
How do I do that?
minus 5.
That's right. Whatever I do to one side, do to the other. That cancels. So David, what's 50 minus 5?
50.
45.
45.
Step out for me. I want you to step out of the classroom for me.
What?
I'm asking you to step out of the classroom for me. And it was 45. Equals, and what's on my right side?
Oh.
And then what do I bring down on my right side? So this is my right side. What am I going to bring down?
You're going to 5x.
Perfect. And what step is that, Damon?
I don't think we
Did you lose count?
No.
We might have.
That's 4. That's still 4.
That's 5.
That's 5.
Alright.
All right, Alex. What's the next thing I do? How do I get the variable x by itself?
I don't got no more room.
I know, I'm about out of room too. If you need to kind of move it to the right.
That's fine.
So if you have 5x, how do we get the x by itself? No, anytime a number touches a variable. Good, we're going to divide. You don't have to write small. Just go to the right of it. So then we have x equals, Alex, 45 divided by 5.
Can't wait, laugh.
That's all right.
Sometimes you gotta be wrong. Type it. You gotta be king.
That's right.
That's a 6-step, right?
That is a 6 step. I should have definitely wrote a little bit smaller up here, right? I had like big old spaces from there on out.
That's why I look like this is only the third step.
Make sure you have it down.
I said it was 6.
If you said 6, you were right. It's a long one. The last step was 5. This one was 6.
So you think the teachers won't have a cookout with
You did say 3.
Okay, let's look at the last 2. So we're going to go from something really difficult to something a little simpler. So we're going to get into squares and solving equations with squares in a week. But you need to understand that sometimes when you square things with a negative and a positive, it can change your answer. So when you're squaring something, you have to square what's in the parentheses. So right here, you're taking 5 times 5. So what's 5 times 5? What's 5 squared? 25.
Would this be a test though? 'Cause we just got done learning this.
I'll look. And then negative 5 squared. So that's going to be negative 5 times negative 5, which will be
Negative 25.
2 negatives
Positive
equal.
25.
Yeah.
Same sign positive.
So that's going to stay the same.
And that's it?
That's it.
That was easy.